Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead, and I have a lot of bread from the freezer. This is a whole loaf of bread, but the reason it went in the freezer like this was because I cooked it too long. I got editing and forgot about it. It didn't burn, but it is hard as a rock. So today I'm going to make stuffed meatloaf or stuffed bread meatloaf and breadcrumbs that I'm gonna make breadcrumbs and toast them and put them in the pantry. And I'm gonna be using this leftover spaghetti sauce, leeks. Well, we don't need the ketchup now. Leeks, leftover spaghetti sauce, 2 eggs, and breadcrumbs. Let's get started. Okay. Now, before I go any further with this, I am going to start putting. I'm going to start putting the rest of the bread, in the blender to make a sheet of breadcrumbs. I'm just going to toast them a little bit in the oven, and that way they will, and then put them in a jar in my pantry. You're not getting any, Gracie. Is that a good drink of water, Gracie? Mommy make it fresh every day. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven and stir it every once in a while to toast these, and then they'll be going into a half-gallon jar in the pantry. Okay, my breadcrumbs here, I'm just stirring them. They're in a 350-degree oven, and I'm just stirring these every once in a while. Oh, I'm getting them all over the place. And once these are dry enough, I'm going to get them nice and hot, and then I'm going to lay them. I should have laid them on a cookie sheet to begin with. But I just stir this every, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and then put it back in the oven. Parchment paper you can wash and reuse. So I don't mind using my parchment paper for absolutely everything. And we're going to dump them on here. See the steam come off of those? Look at the steam. So now I'm just going to spread this all out. Over the parchment. Oh, it's hot, hot, hot. And we're just going to let them cool. And this steam now is going to come off. And these breadcrumbs are, now that they're good and hot, these breadcrumbs are going to dry just beautifully. And if I have to, I'll pop them back in the oven after my meatloaf comes out. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just punch a hole right down the center of this loaf of bread, and we're going to start. Well, this bread is really hard on the outside, but it's still really soft on the inside, right? So you're going to see how I make this so that not only do we get a meatloaf, I'm going to show you how I hope, like I've never done this before, but I'm really hoping it works. You get where I'm going with this, kids? I wanted to show you guys this. This is why I partially froze the hamburger. Look at the water that came out. So I am going to go and cut this open and give Gracie the juice. Sorry about that. Okay, so there is our bread from the center of the loaf. Here is our spaghetti sauce. Although I'm starting to think I should have painted that on the outside of the bread. Now I'm going to mix this in. A little bit of salt. Well, that was a lot of salt actually. Probably a teaspoon. Pepper. Now this is going to help absorb the moisture. You can use fresh if you want, but then I would use an extra egg. Yeah, I'm growing 2 beds of leeks this year. Two eggs, just to make sure this is going to be nice and firm. My hands don't want to open these itty bitty little seams there. All right. Now, okay. Oh, they do dehydrate so easy. There's only one tool. Yes, I could dirty a bowl on the on the KitchenAid, but the truth is, the best way to mix meatloaf is with your hands. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We've got our parchment on the bottom here, and we're just going to put meatballs inside here. All right. Now it's getting full. And we're going to have to start pressing it down in. Now, you really need a stale loaf or an overcooked loaf to do this. Otherwise, your bread will rip. Okay, let's look at the other end. Nice. And we'll put this last little bit in this end just to make it all nice and even. Gracie, you can lick that bowl. Oh, see, it's already splitting, guys. So here's what we're going to do. This was enough of an experiment. Now I'm leaving this tented just enough so that it will steam inside this. Yeah, there's breadcrumbs in there. And into a 350-degree oven, this is going to go. Okay, the meatloaf's been in the oven for about an hour, and I found the bread was still really hard. So I tried to pour some water over it, but it's cooked all the way through, but yeah, this isn't what I was hoping for. I was hoping it wouldn't be hard. I was hoping that the parchment would steam the bread. No, it's just squeezing out the end. And yet, if the bread wasn't that hard, it still would have split. Oh well, let's put it on a plate. Not all of my ideas work. But if we stop trying new things, we'd never learn anything, would we? Some roasted air fried taters and garlic butter carrots. So, you don't need a thumbs up. Papa's in the shower. The meatloaf itself is delicious, but the bread came out too crunchy. There it is. And that's what happened. This is Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying not all my ideas work. And I had to put my cookie sheet of breadcrumbs back in the oven because they're still not dry enough to jar up. So I'll finish this up showing you my breadcrumbs when they're done. I am going to say the meatloaf itself was absolutely delicious, and there was enough left over for Howie to take meatloaf sandwiches to work today, and he loved them. And here are the breadcrumbs. Now these are really well toasted. Some of them are bigger than others, but they work really well for things like stuffing and bread toppings and shake and bake and all that stuff. Now just make sure, homemade bread takes a lot longer to dry, so I dried it till it was crunchy. So there we go. Waste not, want not. Yeah, don't look at my hair. I just got out of bed. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying the meatloaf was good, but the loaf it was inedible. But we still have breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. Don't waste your stale or leftover bread. Take care. God bless. Mwah.